You may have heard of him because in the Toronto Star, he did an article about sexsomnia. Have you heard of that? That's people having sex while they're sleeping. And actually, it's more common than they thought. So there's sleepwalkers, and then there's these people. So this is a type of parasomnia. I just thought it was quite interesting, so I'm sharing it with you. Now, the good news is that sexual activity increases sleep quality. So people stay around for the end, because when you find about love, it may help your sleep. And this is even people, I shouldn't really say, I'm not going to go into in detail, but even if you're on your own, if there was a degree of arousal in any way, I'll just tell you that you sleep better, apparently, right? So, let's look at sleep. You have a series of things you go through. Sleep is a cycle. Lasts about 90 minutes, one cycle, and you repeat it. And if we're getting our 7 to 8 hours of sleep we want, then you're going to go through that maybe 5 times during the night. So we start off with a little bit of, slowing down, some muscle twitching, moving into a very deep sleep. This restorative sleep, you see these brain waves here? These delta waves, as it mentions, are essential for sleep restoration. The REM sleep, that rapid eye movement sleep, the dreaming is right at the end of the cycle. And then you come back to a very light sleep again. So every 90 minutes, you're in a very light sleep, which would be easy to awaken. And you might remember dreams you just had because they were the last thing you just did. But that deep restorative sleep, those delta waves are essential. And what Dr. Shapiro has found is that people who don't sleep well, especially those with pain, often don't have those deep waves. They're missing. So we want to do things to increase that restorative sleep and make sure that you're not waking. Why might you wake up at the end of that 90 minutes? Is it common for people to wake sometimes 1 or 2 a.m.? Have you heard of anybody saying that? That's usually stress related. The stuff going on during the day, your mind is racing, you're making extra cortisol, it's not dropping enough, and while you're sleeping and you get one of those coming out of times before the next cycle starts, that is a time when the mind will be more aware of its thoughts. We need to calm that. So good sleep is associated to low stress. Nourishing those adrenal glands that make the cortisol, not having them overproduce, creating calmness, doing that deep breathing. So things to think about. Daytime exercise, we don't really want you exercising right before bed. Morning is probably best. But daytime exercise and a hot bath, if you can't get in the bath, shower is good, but it has to be hot. There has to be steam on the mirror. You can write your name in afterwards, and then I know someone who's selling cloths out there to apparently clean it up for you very nicely. But you are going to have steam on the mirror. Hot, hot, hot. So hot bath. And then you're going to get into bed and cool in the bed. Cooling in the bed from a hot bath right before bed and daytime exercise increase delta waves. Those are the only 2 natural things known to improve that restorative sleep. Stress reduction, absolutely. No caffeine after 3 to 4. We're not talking about 7, 8. Many people are very sensitive to the impact of caffeine. Maybe it didn't mean a lot on its own, but at a time of stress, a time when you've got a little bit of pain, discomfort, and you add caffeine, caffeine increases cortisol production. It's like taking those adrenal glands and hitting them with a baseball bat. It's another stressor. So it may give you some short-term gain, but it really is for long-term pain. It is affecting those adrenal glands. It is a stressor to the system. Even people who have cut out caffeine a day before said their sleep was better the following night because some people process caffeine quite slowly out of their system. Fluid consumption. If you're not going to the bathroom at night, you need to be doing some Kegel exercises. Give that really nice support to that pelvic floor. I did see another thing on the silent auction table, which is about pelvic floor exercise. It's called Pilates with a PF. And it's a ball kit that actually helps you do exercises to retain that pelvic floor. But doing a nice little lift, I'm doing it right now. Are you doing it? Try doing it. And release. Everybody doing it? Okay, you know what I'm talking about, Kegels, right? You're lifting your pelvic floor. It's like an elevator inside. It's going up. Feel it coming up. Lift, pull, up, in there. Hold, and then let it go gradually. You have to do it slow. It's not now if you're really good, you can pulse. You know, like they do. That's very hard. That is true control. And you will laugh and leak less. Cough and leak less. And you won't get up to go to the bathroom as much. Okay, so that's important. Addressing night sweats. If that's what's waking you up, that's the second half of my talk, but we're going to talk about all the things you can do for that. Restless leg syndrome. My favorite thing is magnesium glycinate for that. It will wake a lot of people. And in sleep studies, even though women didn't realize it, that was one of the reasons for their awakening, is restless legs, leg cramps as well. And as I said, magnesium glycinate is the first thing I'd love to start with for that, and also helps sleep quality. Sleep apnea, usually assessed in a sleep clinic, but snoring is often a sign of that as well. So these are things you need to look at. Find out maybe what some of the cause is and correct it. So here might be a routine. So first of all, you have your daytime exercise that you've built into your life. Not that I didn't have time, because I did everything else for everyone else and nothing for me. Whether that is doing some yoga, it's even some deep breathing, it's going for a walk. Going for a walk at lunch, at a break at work, get out, fresh air de-stresses you. You need to remove yourself from the environment. Then you have no evening nap. You don't come home and lay down at 6 or 7 and expect a good sleep. Okay, so we've got to remove that evening nap. Plan to go to bed the same time. That's sleep hygiene. The body needs regulation. This is why shift work is very hard on the body. Magnesium is just one example. I do have a sleep sheet that lists a lot of the supplements I've found extremely helpful, and it is out in the exhibit area. You're going to run the hot bath. So just when you think about it, you've got your pajamas, whatever you're wearing, you've got them on the bed ready to go. You have taken your magnesium, you give it 15, 20 minutes, and you turned on the bath water. Okay, so everything's set. You're going to clean your teeth. You're going to take any other meds you need to. If you've made sandwiches for anyone, it's all done. Because you're going from bath to bed. You're not going bath, 5 errands, bed, email. This is it. Bath, bed. Okay, so you've done everything. You've taken your magnesium. You might heat some milk. There is truth to that when we heat milk, we increase a chemical called casein that has been used actually in supplements to promote relaxation and sleep. So that hot milk thing is if you like milk, and not too much, because you don't want to go to the bathroom. But if you wanted to heat some milk, put it in a little carafe or a mug at the bedside, a little warm milk. Isn't that nice? It's already done. Now you're going to get in the bath, and you're going to breathe in the bath. It's your time. Even if you're in there 5 minutes, you're heating up the body, the breathing in, breathing out. Visualize, if you want, the most beautiful place you've been to, top of a mountain, a beach, Bruce Trail, down at our lake. Lots of night, just visualize that. Or you may think of the counting in, counting out. You might tense up a body part, let it go, head to toe, as they do in the end of yoga. That head to toe, tense up my face, make it scrunched up, breathe out, let it fall. So I actually feel my earlobes dropping. My jaw is hanging over. And then your shoulders and your buttocks and right through to your toes. Whatever you need to do to relax. And then you're going to go immediately into bed. And you can do some more breathing. If you wake up, you're going to go back into the breath. But are there any non-prescription things you do? Of course. The magnesium I mentioned, it has to be the glycinate, or bisglycinate is another one that's available. There is melatonin. We deplete our melatonin as we age, and it is a chemical that we make when it is completely dark, so that room needs to be black. It is a sleep chemical that is essential. So melatonin, for some, if it's depleted, they will take that. And there is sublingual under the tongue to work right away. There's long-acting to last into the night, and regular, lots of options. Rescue sleep, homeopathic product in the Rescue Remedy line. You can spray it under the tongue. Have it at the bedside. You wake up, do another squirt. Norexan calms cortisol. We have Benasom, which is a combination of products looking at adding in the melatonin with some herbs that promote relaxation. Sleep Smart, the same. It's a group of things. So we have products like the Benasom, the Sleep Smart, the Setitol, Ortho Sleep. They're all winding down that brain, winding down cortisol, creating calmness. Which one do you want? What's going to work for you? Well, if you tried one thing that's very similar to another, you might want to switch it up. Maybe go to a homeopathic versus the herbal. I love the magnesium as a base, and then you can add to that. But it doesn't replace exercise during the day. It doesn't replace reducing stress, deep breathing, all those things that are fundamental to health. 5-HTP is another one that is actually a precursor to serotonin, our antidepressant chemical. And it also helps us make melatonin. We can't swallow serotonin, that antidepressant chemical that's made in the brain. So 5-HTP is a chemical that allows it to be converted to that in the brain. It is nice at night for relaxation, but it also helps with cravings. People get sweet or carb cravings at night. 5-HTP is often deficient. So that's another thing that's sometimes integrated into these combination products, or you can take it alone. Lots of great options, and again, I've made a sheet describing all of them that's in your vendor area. What about things for stress? Because if stress is such a big part of not sleeping well, we may need to address it of itself. So B vitamins, very nourishing to the adrenal glands. We don't want them to overproduce cortisol and create a stress response when it's not necessary. If the dishes weren't done, is it worth all that upset? Really? Shoes aren't in the right place at the front door. Has anyone got upset about those kind of things? Laundry not being done, socks on the floor. Like, do you get a little bit over the top sometimes on that? Would you say? Now, I think a lot of it is very merited. Because if you've asked and asked and asked and asked, then sometimes it's just not nice anymore, right? It's a mean situation now. It's very difficult. But in the scheme of life, how lucky we are to have boots to move. How lucky we are to have dishes to put away, to eat, to have family around to do things for. Because once the family's not there and they've gone off, you would give anything to have those boots on the floor, right? Anything to have that dirty dish in the sink. So we really need to put things in perspective in life, and sometimes our stress level gets to a point that it's really unrealistic for what's going on in the world, and we have to really think about people and relationships and what feeds the soul, what feeds you as a person, because that is the base of wellness. And if doing all the walking, and whether it's religion, faith, meditation, breathing, outside walking, if all of that isn't enough and you can't get to sleep, some of these things may be there to help you, and that's great. Supporting that stress aspect is fundamental to every aspect of health, not just sleep. So it's the nourishment, fish oil. Omega-3 fish oil, if I had to say everyone should take one thing or two things, vitamin D and fish oil would be top of the list. Fish oil prevents plaque dislodging from blood vessels. Fish oil nourishes the brain. If you look at regimens to help with preventing Alzheimer's, fish oil is in there. B vitamins are in there. They nourish the adrenal gland, the omega-3. Okay? And it helps nourish your skin, eczema, psoriasis, much less flare-ups in many people using fish oil. It's essential. And there are booths out there talking about that as well. Getting the right one that's microfiltered and no contaminants from the ocean. Very important. You don't want to have a bottle of mercury and PCBs. So it's got to be good fish oil. Relora is one of the things that I've recommended for years because it helps the tired, wired person. The person is so wired in thought, and they're exhausted from it. And then they become impatient and intolerant over those boots and those shoes and the dishes. And it's a shame because you sort of feel like you're not the person you want to be. So if you need to calm that cortisol level, calm that perception of stress, I find Relora an excellent product. It's 2 herbs, philodendron and magnolia. It's just one of the many products out there that helps nourish the adrenal gland. So Adrasset, Exhilarant, Serenogen, they're products from Metagenics. They all work in different ways for different types of stress. They are all excellent. Adrena Smart, a Lorna Vanderhaeg product. She has all the smart products. She is a smart girl too. All her products end in smart. That is one that people have taken often in the afternoon, noon or about 2 in the afternoon, to prevent that nighttime awakening. We see that with Serenogen above as well, winding down that cortisol level, taken a little bit later in the afternoon, and promoting better quality sleep. And then we have OrthoAdapt. That's an adrenal supplement that's actually got ground up adrenal gland in it from an animal. Now, if you're not a vegetarian and you eat meat, it will be healthier than any meat that you've had. It's from a pristine herd of pigs. So, not to think about that too much, but anyways, because they're using them for other things. They're not just taking their adrenal glands. But that is the closest thing to actually giving you the cortisol that you're not making. So this isn't for the tired, wired person. This is the person who's gone through so many emotional stressors. Whether they're in their family, their friends, financial, they're exhausted. They've made excess cortisol from those adrenal glands to cope with stress, because that's the body's natural response. But they've kept doing it day in, day out, and now they're done. They're not worried about the shoes. They could care less about the shoes because they're so exhausted. They can't even be stressed when they want to be. Their body wants to make the extra cortisol, but they're burned out. That is the burnout phenomenon. And there is an excellent book on adrenal fatigue by Dr. James Wilson. And there's a website called adrenalfatigue.org. And he speaks to people with this kind of syndrome where they've burned out that adrenal gland. They're making some cortisol, but when you look at their levels, their morning levels are like that they should be going to bed. They have no energy. So that kind of product, OrthoAdapt, ground up adrenal gland, is for those kind of people.